We are halfway there right now, and step number 4 is contact and invite. Tagline here is perfect practice makes perfect. Now, what I want to go through, there's a lot of scripts in your book under this particular section, and they give you tons of material as to how to reach out to people, how to contact them, how to invite them, and you want to go through all those scripts and figure out what's important to you and what really what's comfortable for you. And you basically say, you know what, listen, hey, if I showed you a video, would you watch it? Or something along the lines of, hey, Mary, it's Michael Fitzpatrick. Did I catch you at a bad time? I always ask that question. Did I catch you at a bad time? Why? Because people always want to say no. So this gives them a chance to say no, which means it's a good time. So I say, typically my script is, hey, Mary. She says, yeah, hi. I say, hey, Mary, it's Michael Fitzpatrick. How are you? I'm good. How are you? And I know what she's thinking right now, which is, what's going on? Why is he calling? What's the purpose? And I say, did I catch you at a bad time? She says, no, what's going on? I say, well, you know what? Listen, I want to keep this short and sweet. I don't want to take up much of your time at all, but a good friend of mine recently introduced me to a business concept that I'm extremely intrigued by, and quite frankly, I'm thinking about putting a lot more time and energy into it, but I respect and trust you and your opinion and your business acumen or your friendship, and what I need is about 30 minutes of your time when you and I can get together, and I want to show you a video. If I showed you a video, Mary, would you watch it for me and give me your honest feedback? Yeah, I would do that. And then she might try to get into, well, what is it about and how does it work? And I might say, well, it deals with green energy and this whole issue of deregulation. If I said anything more, I'd be doing you a disservice. But I actually want to get together with you in person, and I want to share this with you because I want to get your feedback, and I want to see what kind of input you might be able to give me in terms of direction, or I don't know, you might see something that I don't see. So you want to keep it short and sweet, somewhat vague, and you want to just try to basically book the appointment. The purpose of the phone calls when you're contacting and inviting people is not to sell the product. The purpose of the phone call is to sell the appointment, and then you actually have a forum to talk about your product and how it works. So as we're going into the characteristic, as we go into, I should say, the contact and invite, I wanted to point out to you 5 characteristics of high-performing associates. And they break down into these 5 categories. The first one deals with attitudes and beliefs. The second one deals with your selling skills. The third one is your activity level, which we call kind of show the program. The fourth one is your intelligence. That's your knowledge bucket. And then your organizational skills. So we're going to go through each of these real briefly here. The first one deals with, actually, let me go back here because we're going to break down another piece just after this. So I could basically sum up this whole slide here by saying that the most important 2 of these things on here are your belief system and your attitude and your activity level. You know, people buy your smile. Your attitude is the compensation plan in this business. And as you show up, that's what you're going to get back in return. If you show up a little scared or a little hesitant or nervous or skeptical, you know, that's exactly what kind of response you're going to get back from people. So you want to have the right attitude, the right positive mental attitude. You want to have the right belief system and activity. You know, make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So you go out there and you show this plan, 50 times, I will guarantee you that you will be almost an energy expert. And when I say expert, I don't mean that you need to be a chemical engineer or a nuclear physicist. We're talking about understanding how this whole deregulation thing works. And it's really simple, guys. People can actually take their plug from the top socket and they can just take it out and put it in the bottom socket. That's exactly what we do. It's that simple. So when we go into contact and invite, it's really important to also understand the phone disciplines and beliefs that are involved, because this is probably, I don't care if we live in the most technological era of all times, and we do, between social media and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and email and BlackBerries and Crackberries, and we got it all, right? But at the end of the day, it's a friendship business. It's a relationship business. You got to pick up the telephone. You got to make phone calls. You want to develop that personal touch. So what are the disciplines that are involved with the telephone? Well, understand that it's a contact sport. Not just a sport, but a contact sport, meaning people are going to give you pushback, right? They're going to want you to explain everything on the phone. They're going to give you objections. And our job is to understand how to deal with those things. You want to create a sense of urgency. I think you could probably tell by my voice, by my tone, my pace. For starters, I'm standing up right now while I'm recording this. Why? Because it allows me to project as best as possible. So I encourage you to do that when you're making your phone calls and create a sense of urgency. Let them know it's really just something that you want to sit down and get their opinion on. If you don't have names and you don't have leads, you really have no business. Okay, so one of the important things about the phone work is that you have to keep your leads, filled to the brim. Also, schedule your phone hours work, your contact time first, and do not, by any stretch of the imagination, do not give into that. The biggest thing I see people do that's wrong is they'll block off some times, and then something else comes up, like a live meeting or an opportunity to show the plan, an appointment, and they're going to cancel their call time with the hope that they're going to reschedule it. And guys, nobody ever does. So your phone work is the lifeline to your existence. It's the lifeline to the fulfillment of your why. You want to call during optimal hours. Well, that might be in the morning for some of your contacts. It might be lunchtime for others. It might be after hours for other ones. Be persistent and be consistent, right? Don't just go out of the gates hard for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and all of a sudden fizzle out. That's like the person whose New Year's resolution was to get in shape. They go to the gym for 3 times in January, never to be seen again until next January, right? So don't be that person. Be persistent and be consistent. They're the ones that win. Simply put, guys, by the way, be on the phone, right? If you're not showing the program to people, be inviting people to show the program. This whole business is broken down into 2 sections. You're either inviting people or you're presenting. Invitations and presentations. So be on the phone. Scripts do help you get better results, meaning that the more that you do this and the more comfortable you are with it, the more natural it's going to sound to your prospects. So you don't want to sound like a robot with a script, but if you can memorize your script and then make it seem very nonchalant, that's what drives major results. And then also be authentic with your calls. Don't try to be something other than what you are. Our parents used to tell us when we were growing up, me and my 3 sisters, the you that you are is better by far than the you are trying to be. So be you, right? You are the best you that was ever created because you're the only one. Nobody will ever be created like you ever again, right? And ever before. And so just be authentic with who you are. And then also inspect what you expect, meaning that you have to be able to measure some of your progress. That goes back to the other video with the call tracker. If you're not using that, I strongly encourage you to get that into your repertoire, and when you're making your phone calls, inspect what you expect. So some other phone beliefs. Your mentality is you have to be able to expect success going on the phone. And you need to break their state and create a bond, right? You're catching people off guard, so you have 30 seconds. You probably have 10 seconds to really do that, and you want to break their state because they're probably doing something, and then you also need to create that affinity. And you probably have it because it's a friend that you're calling. The purpose of the call, like I said before, is to sell the appointment, not the product. Less is always more. Limit the amount of information that you're giving over the phone. These are controlled conversations, which is very different than a typical conversation, which is back and forth and questions and answers. These have a specific purpose behind them, right? The purpose is to get an appointment, which is different than how you would typically call a family member or a friend. So you have to let them know that you want to catch up, but the purpose for this phone call is specifically to schedule some time to sit down together. So you have to own that call. Otherwise, the prospect is going to own it, and then you all of a sudden lose it. So the last one is handling objections. And again, that's a whole training session unto itself. But the fact of the matter is, guys, is that most objections that come up are not even real objections, right? They're just what people kind of come up with off the cuff. So you want to handle real objections versus stated objections, and the only way to do that is through listening and asking questions. So the last thing we want to talk about here is coding your leads. And we had in the previous video, we had the 11 folders. The yet to be contact, the booked appointment needs to reschedule. There was 11 stages in the pipeline there, and coding your leads or coding your names is extremely important, because if you're like this person here and you think that having a bazillion sticky notes all over your house or your office or whatever is organized, there's no way you're going to survive, right? This person's probably beyond anxiety ridden. So staying organized is extremely important. So contact and invite, look at the scripts in your book, and just the last thing I would say is just go out and do it, right? Don't be afraid. Don't be self-conscious. Don't fear rejection. Just get out there and just go do it. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.